Hi, I'm Justin and welcome to the Landis Look, where we take an inside look at the world of real estate. Today, we're going to take a look at how you can have generational wealth through real estate. We had a client recently that reminded me of how powerful real estate can be. They had this house for a long time and they owned it outright, which is pretty awesome. And for the last decade or so, they let a retired pastor live there. This is a really amazing thing to do, right? I mean, they let someone live there for free and he got to use the house and had a place to live. And as I thought about that, it is all because they owned that house free and clear. And so you might say, well, hey, if you saved up the money and you didn't own the house, you could buy a house for someone. But would you really do that? Even if you had the money to buy a house for someone who needed it, would you do that? Or do you actually have to have the house to give that sort of opportunity to someone? And so I said we're going to talk about generational wealth, and you may be like, hey, someone living in a house for 10 years for free? That's the opposite of wealth. I'm not making any money off that. But in my opinion, wealth is having enough resources and enough assets that you can live your life in the way that you want to live it. And for them, that's helping others. And so think about this. What would it do for you if down the line, when you were a little bit older, you had one or maybe 5 or 8 or 10 houses that you owned outright? How would that impact your life and the life of others around you? Your kids' life, maybe your grandkids' life. Those grandkids may not even be born yet. But think about this. You start investing now and you buy one house this year. 30 years from now, that house can be paid off by someone else paying it. You buy another one next year or maybe the year after. You buy another one, you buy another one. You wake up down the line and you're like, wow, I have a real estate empire. And honestly, if you had 10 houses that were $200,000 each and they were all paid off, it is a little bit of a real estate empire, because you either have millions of dollars in equity in those houses to sell and use for something else. You can have lots and lots of rental income come in each month with very few expenses going out. Or you can do things like give someone a place to live, a friend, a family member, somebody from your church like this family did. And so I challenge you all to think about that and plan it for down the line. And so a lot of times when I say this, the questions I'll get is, first of all, can I buy a house that will be cash flow neutral or positive? Like, can I buy something and someone else will pay it off over 30 years? And the answer to that question is yes, you can. Obviously, not every house fits that criteria, but we help people do that all the time, and we could definitely help you do that. And then the second question is typically, well, hey, that's 30 years. It sounds like 30 years of work for me to manage this house. And yes, owning a house is not the same as buying a stock and then it just sits there for 30 years and you never did anything. But that's why there are great folks out there that will help you manage houses. And now there's even great technology that helps you do that as well. And we can set you up with that. So this is as hands-off as you want it to be. And then the third question I usually get is, how much do I have to have? How much do I have to invest? And that question varies. We can help you with that, but it's not that much. It's not that much to get started and to get that first property. And once you get that first property, it's often actually helpful in getting the additional properties. So take a second and think about, hey, 30 years from now, 35 years from now, what would it look like if I owned a lot of properties free and clear? I didn't have a mortgage on them and they were mine. And they were my family's, and they could be leveraged for both income and for good. I think if you take a second and think about that, you'd be pretty excited about it. And if you want to take the first step towards actually making that a reality, drop us a message here, send us an email. We'd love to help you make a difference that is going to impact your life and impact the lives of those around you for a long time. So thanks for listening today, and we'll see you again next week.